When data is interpreted against a set of business process rules, it needs to be held in an optimum way for ease of access. In this session, we'll consider the architectures and modelling techniques available and show how out-of-the-box solutions can be integrated with bespoke systems. We'll consider how the architecture can be crafted to incorporate rather than exclude advanced analytical users. The third normal form model approach used to achieve the data management goals of the foundation data layer is not that helpful when it comes to providing users access to the data. It lacks the complex business rule interpretation and it may be more difficult to navigate. The access layer adds the information access component to the architecture. It's critical to understand that tools accessing the data warehouse may change over time. We may have little control of these tools and they may impose different requirements for data structure. The most important thing is that the access layer can always be reconstructed from what is in the foundation layer. Conceptually, this is the subject-oriented representation of a subset of data to simplify the analysis of the business while preserving the common dimensionality. Physical implementation can be in views, but is typically done in some kind of star schema which is populated by the ETL process. These subject areas can be thought of as embedded data marts. By keeping these internal to the data warehouse, we reduce platform costs, latency, and improve security and management. Again, they can be built in right time, either during the day or overnight, depending on requirement. Increasingly, vendors are beginning to sell out-of-the-box data marts for specific applications. These analytical applications can be extremely useful and should be incorporated into the architecture. Typically, the flow will bypass the foundation layer. Bypassing the foundation layer can be justified when the information being analysed is not core to the business. For example, for a retailer, financial analytics may be very much the same organisation to organisation. How products are merchandised and sold will vary wildly. Of course, it may end up being necessary to conform dimensions in the access layer or even to break the flow such that some data is stored in the foundation layer. The important thing is that these stars are part of the access layer. Even though I've drawn the shapes of star schemas here, these may not be the best physical instantiation. In many implementations I've seen, we have tended to assume that star schema is the right way. However, star schemas and relational technology in general have some drawbacks, particularly when time-based analysis is required. Even if you are very good at writing SQL, simple business questions can quickly become complex. Sales last week may be simple. Sales last week compared to sales last year according to business calendar is slightly harder. Sales year to date compared to sales year to date last year, like for like, starts to look very hard, and using SQL to produce a forecast based on historic patterns can be extremely hard. I therefore work on the basis that these structures should ideally be placed into OLAP technology. This gives far better performance but answers those simple time series questions much more effectively. This should be the default answer, and we should only resort to star schema when volume dictates. Right now, a rough rule of thumb is that something with lots of dimensions but one which is over 1 million members should be fine in OLAP. Something with more than one dimension over 1 million members may be a lot better in star schema. This rule of thumb will of course change as the technology changes. So the access layer should support by far the bulk of the questions from information consumption. The best practice guidelines are to embrace pre-built solutions as part of the overall solution and to always consider OLAP first for any particular requirement. We'll come back to additional capabilities of this layer when we consider user access in later sessions.